start, and that will be the only start today, only race today. Conditions very nice, 8 to 12 knots in the forecast, southwest. Shouldn't be any risks for rain squalls or problems like we had yesterday. Now the orange flag is coming up behind us on the committee boat. That means that the starting line is in place and 10 minutes to go until the first attempt of the final race of the 8-meter World Cup. Standings before the last day and last race. Overall, Swiss team Ikem with Jean Fabre at the helm, they have 11 points, but with the discard 8 points. Second, Germany's Starling Burgess, Eckhard Kaller, 13 net points. Austrian Pandora with Werner Deuring at the helm, 21 points. Fourth, Dutch team Falcon, the best Neptune class boat, with 25.2 net points. And then fifth, Harry Rochier on Luna, the Finnish team, 27 points. And sixth, Selma Valjus and the team on IF, 41 points after or before the final race. That's the top 6 going into the last race.
Turku, preparatory signal, 4 minutes to start. Papa flag display.
Onko mikki auki?
Mikki on auki.
3.5 minutes to go until the first attempt of the last race in the 8 Metre World Cup 25. Conditions are mild but steady at the moment. Forecast being 8 to 12 knots south-southwest. And so far the fleet is spread out on the long starting line
3 minutes to start.
quite evenly. 3 minutes to go. And surely no one wants to be over early at this last attempt. It's been pretty clean starting since the first day where we saw a couple of black flag starts. Luna and Pandora at the pin end at the moment, with a couple of other boats circling nearby the pin end, while committee end at the moment is rather quiet. There's if furthest towards the committee boat, and Iroquois even outside of the line behind the committee boat. And now we have 1:35 until the start, and boats are getting onto starboard tack, with east out Genoa slowly sliding towards the line. Sphinx and Sagitta next to each other, about 100 meters away from the committee boat. 1 minute warning coming in 3 seconds. That's the 1 minute signal. There is nobody here at the committee end. Until Iroquois might be squeezing in there, otherwise the fleet is using the whole line.
30 seconds.
Half a minute to go. There is most traffic at the pin end at the moment.
15.
The ladies on if coming with good speed on top of the pack, and Iroquois lonely one at the extreme committee end of the line. And that's the start gone. And there is an individual recall for one boat, and that must be at the pin end. One of the pin end starters have been early. Starling Burgess is at least slowing down and coming back. That looks like Starling Burgess is the one who was called back. They are coming back at the moment. Let's see if the X flag is coming down when they return. And it's a 3-lap race, 3 laps. Yesterday we sailed 2 lap races, now there's the final one with 3 laps. And X flag is down, so it was Starling Burgess, which was over early. And here we have Windy on port, looking for clean air. So does Ildrim, who was getting dirty air from IF. Katrina on port tack, crossing behind IF. And there's Ikem in front of IF, pointing pretty high. Sphinx is bearing away to avoid Iroquois. And left even a bit too much space there. There's Sagitta also having to take Iroquois stern. While IF is trying to hang on with the Ikem in front of them, not willing to slide into the dirty air from the Swiss modern boat, but also being now locked by Iroquois. They can't tack away. They're asking for Iroquois to tack, but so far they are not doing it. IF would like to go to the right, but they are locked between the 2 modern boats. There's a Falcon now coming on port tack in front of the ladies, and now Iroquois is tacking. Is IF also tacking? Yes, they are. And here is Ayana, the German entry, crossing our bow. And then we have Andromeda and Luna on port, and Andromeda is covering Luna at the moment. But Luna still managing to keep her speed up. And is she getting through Andromeda's lee? Yes, she looks like she is. There is the duo Andromeda and Luna, and now Ayana coming on starboard, followed by Starling Burgess on our right. Andromeda tacking away from Luna. IF continues on port tack. Here comes Starling Burgess, who had to return at the start. They were over early and now trying to recover from the restart. Getting dirty air from the boats in front of her, both above and below. Heads are turning, they're looking for a gap to tack into. And on the left hand side there is Germania 3 and Fulmar crossing Starling Burgess. There is also Pandora further out there looking good. And then Ikem still on starboard, now tacking to port as well. Getting closer to the port ley line. And I think there's Severn and Anne-Sophie also further to the left, now tacking to port, both of them. Let's take a look at Pandora, who's looking very strong at the moment. Controlling the fleet on the port tack. Falcon probably being the toughest challenger on the right or in the middle of the course. If and Luna next to each other, and Windy furthest out on the right hand side of the course. Here is Pandora. They're looking very good. And still a way to go to the port ley line. They have space to play still here on the left hand side of the course, so they haven't locked themselves too close to the ley line so far. And keeping up with Ikem, probably the fastest boat in the fleet in most of the conditions. They might be slowly sliding in front of Pandora and starting to give dirty air to the Austrian team, which might be looking at a short correction tack shortly. Luna is coming on port tack towards the left hand side, while most of the boats carry on port towards the right side of the course. Here comes Luna. They wanted to join the pack on the left. And there's Severn on port, crossing Luna's stern. And also Anne-Sophie and Germania 3 here further left. Germania 3 carries on starboard, closer to the port ley line. Widespread in the fleet, the whole course is in use. And lots of spectator boats out on the water watching the last race of the event. Here comes Andromeda on port with Starling Burgess below her, and is it Ilrim 2 who's following Andromeda there? This left the German team. A beautiful Neptune class entry, Germania 3. Weight on the high side and quite far out on the foredeck as well. While Pandora tacks in front of Germania, and they look like having a time. Pandora, they've gone really well, and far out on the right hand side might be already at least on the ley line is the Finnish boats, windy, and above her even further out is If. And slowly the fleet is funneling into the upwind mark zone, and yes, Falcon crosses Pandora's bow, and Ikem has taken the lead, made a little gap already to the classic ones. Windy doing really well, and If doing really well. Seems to be Ikem, Falcon, Pandora, Windy, and If at the moment. Depending on how Windy is laying the mark. If they're not, then If is looking pretty strong, being further up, as Ikem is getting to the upwind mark in her privacy. You see the bowman already on the foredeck through the Genoa. And there they go, bearing away to the offset mark. First upwind leg behind. Remember, it's a 3-lap race, so it's a long way to go still. As here come the classic fleet with the Falcon in the front. Kuva oikealta. There is Falcon rounding the mark. They have protest flag flying. Not the first time in this regatta. Pandora following Falcon with a couple of boat lengths behind. And then it's windy, squeezing up to the mark. They are a bit short. Can they make it? And being rolled by If, coming with full speed above them. There they go. Managed to get around the mark. Windy is 4th and If is 5th. Preparing for the Spinnaker set. And then a tight group led by, is it Severn, the German boat, followed by Luna. Ildrim tacking there in front of Sagitta behind Luna. That's Severn around the mark. Luna following. Luna 7th place. Then comes Ildrim in 8th. Sagitta 9th. Kuva vasemmalta. And 10th around the mark is German Germania 3. And then there is the Finnish entry Katrina. Scotch Fulmar the same time at the mark, followed by the early starter Starling Burgess, which is one of the top contenders. There comes Vogel. Swings struggling to bear away in front of Vogspel. Vogspel touched the mark clearly. And then comes Ayana. Ayana followed by Anne-Sophie, another German entry. Then comes Andromeda and Iroquois squeezing around the mark and avoiding Andromeda just about. And Ildrim too, still heading for the upwind mark. So almost the whole fleet around the top mark. First run and 2 more laps after this Spinnaker run down to the bottom mark. A lot of the boats have jibed to port. Leading boats Ikem and Pandora both on port jibe. There's Severn going further right on starboard. And let's go and take a look at the battle in the top group. We have here Ayana, Starling Burgess and Germania, 3 German boats in a nice queue. There's Luna behind Germania. Sagitta in the middle of the course, leaning her mast strongly forward. Starling Burgess trying to roll over Yildirim, who's defending her position nicely, didn't let Starling Burgess pass them, kept their clean air, and Starling Burgess bearing away, not willing to get into a battle, boat-to-boat battle, which always is a costly move towards the rest of the fleet. Falcon sailing in the middle of the pack, in the front, Luna chasing If is also needing to defend their clean air from Luna. And then Pandora in front of If. Heads are turning on If. They're looking at every move on Luna, who's gonna be jibing and when, and mainly just making sure that they are not taking the wind off If's sails. At the moment pretty even in the speed. Maybe Luna has been catching up slightly. Trying to spot any differences on their sail settings. Maybe Luna's main sail is a bit further out. And now Luna is going into a jibe. The foredeck is ready for that, and the girls are reacting. There is Anna Aulanko standing by the mast, and Kaisla Jacobi ready for the jibe command. Now Luna goes into the jibe. They are having pull off. and Main is coming across. Luna on starboard jibe. Viivi, Moisio, Selma, Valius, Marta, Soini looking at Luna's action while calling the jibe on board. If is also jibing now onto starboard. There they go, pole is off. Teamwork at its best. Pushing the pole back into position. It's not easy, but there it goes. But it's in place and all set. Main is still a bit too far in, but getting everything ready and checking out how they're doing against Luna, which is on their starboard, and marks are straight ahead. Ikem already closing the bottom mark with Pandora and Falcon following. Wind is coming from the right side of the course, getting closer to Luna and If. So the top 5, top 6 looks pretty much the same, very close between the 3 Finnish teams in the ranks from 4th to 6th. Ikem's spinnaker is coming down already. They are a couple of boat lengths away from the bottom mark, taking the right hand side one. And there they go around on starboard towards the left side of the course. And then next one getting to the mark will be Pandora, the Austrian team. There was 8 points between Starling Burgess and Pandora before this last race, and now Pandora is doing really well, and Starling Burgess had their early start and are still way behind and quite a few positions behind Pandora, so it might be getting close in total points, but only first lap done of this 3-lap race. As Pandora goes around and Falcon is closing the other mark, the Dutch team coming to the rounding in 3rd place. Down comes their spinnaker as Luna has squeezed in front of If. They did jibe earlier and that paid off. Which mark are they taking? They're jibing to the mark behind us. There they go, spinnaker down. And if following them, that's a very close encounter. And there goes Luna, and If spinnaker is stuck up, not coming down, looks like it's halyard problem there. Okay. Now it's finally coming down, but too late. And a lot of distance lost at this rounding, while wind is going around the other mark, and Germania 3 following if, Sagitta behind Windy to the left. Then comes Starling Burgess and Ilderim at the same time at the different marks. A lot of shouting from Ilderim. Also having trouble with cheating in the Genoa. Katrina goes around the other mark, followed by Sphinx. And then there is Fulmar and Vågspel coming really close behind Sphinx. Fulmar's rounding goes wide, and Vågspel is not able to squeeze inside there. They have to go around the outside, and Germania, Ayana goes around the other mark, followed by Anne-Sophie. Andromeda rounding the other mark with Iroquois right behind them. Luna has tacked already onto starboard. Wind is on port. And then we have Ilderim 2 still heading for the bottom mark rounding. And it's the second upwind leg of the 3-lap final race of the 8 Metre World Cup, with Ikem leading the pack, followed by Pandora and Falcon as the top 3. The wind has picked up a little bit. It's getting lumpier here, so we're closing the microphone for a while and speak to you again at the upwind mark. Onko auki? Okay, we are on the second upwind leg of the final race at the 8 Metre World Cup, and we are behind Dutch team Falcon here on the starboard ley line, heading for the upwind mark. There is Ikem, the race leader, in front of Falcon, and just in front of her and below her is Pandora, the Austrian Zero Cup entry, and these three boats are clearly away from the rest of the pack. Starling Burgess is behind us, also on the ley line. Looks like, well, it's a bit early to say who's on the ley line. Looks like Ikem is now sliding below it, and so is Pandora and probably Falcon as well, unless they get a lift before the mark. If is on starboard tack on the left side of the course, closing to the port ley line, and so is Luna. Luna is slightly ahead of If, but they are clearly behind this pack, and Severn is tagging behind us on the starboard ley line. So soon we're gonna see when Luna, If, and the boats behind us right now are meeting at the top mark, who's gonna be getting ahead of whom. But there is clearly a leader, and then a battle for the second place between Pandora and Falcon, and then a bigger group battling for the positions from fourth onwards. Wind picked up a little bit for the second beat, so there's more pressure. The waves are building. They're rather short and sharp, and because of the pretty massive spectator boat traffic plus other Saturday sailors, there are waves coming from a number of directions, making it slightly trickier for the sailors. And then of course us media boats giving our little contribution to the mess. We try to keep behind and out of their way, but sometimes we of course are giving them waves as well. Yeah, so none of these boats in front of us are laying the mark, and hence Falcon tacking, because Pandora squeezed in front of her and started to give dirty air. Now Pandora tacks as well, and so does Ikem. Became closer to the mark, so all three on port, making the short correction to lay the mark. If has already tacked on the left, are coming on port towards the mark, and looks like Ikem is getting a big lift right at the mark on port tack. So it might pay off for Luna and Eve coming from the left to enter the mark on port tack. Remains to be seen, but anyhow the shift seems to be going left. These starboard tackers didn't lay the mark and have to make this correction, and that gets Luna and Eve back into the race from the left. They're looking good at the moment. They're being lifted all the time. Voisit ottaa noit tuolta vasemmalta kuvaa. Tuolla. There we have Luna and Eve coming on board, powered up and being lifted all the time. while the starboard boats were getting headed, coming closer to the mark. So this is getting more and more interesting as the mark is coming closer. Pandora is again on starboard next to us here on our right hand side, while Luna and If side by side are coming on port deck with great speed, good power, and being lifted towards the mark. So we're gonna place ourselves outside of the mark to see who's gonna end up where. Pandora anyway will be second, following Ikem, who's already flying her spinnaker, being on the second run. Ja sit tuolta oikealta toi eka vene, kun tulee tähän. Now we are at the mark and Pandora coming right behind us. To the rounding, one boat length, and they bearing away. There they go, or come, however. The top mark, good move. They made a nice gap between them and Falcon is getting attacked by Luna and If behind them. They got closer at the end of the beat. The left hand side was paying off. There was a nice lift on port, and now Falcon's been caught up by Luna and If is not far away either. There comes Falcon to the mark, bearing away to the offset mark, and 2 boat lengths, and then it's Luna's turn. Looks like a little bit of move in the water as well, the boat going sideways that much. Could be a little bit of current here, and that's If in 5th place around the top mark, and then a bit of a gap to the next ones. Mä käännän ympäri. There comes Starling Burgess, who's been catching up very well on the second beat. They recovered extremely nicely from the early start and are now defending their lead in the Sierra class against Pandora, which goes ahead of them, but there was 8 points between them and now only a few boats between them anymore. So Starling Burgess is looking in the stand, followed by Severn of Germany, and next will be Germania 3 right here. And then it's Sagitta and Windy. Windy lost quite a lot on this beat, going right. They were very close to Luna and If on the first run still, but now they've fallen way behind. Here comes Sagitta to offset mark and spinnaker set. Boat used to be white before, but this summer they gave it the original green color. And they are followed by Windy, both from the Helsinki Yacht Club HSS. Sorry, Windy is not from HSS, they are team. And then Andromeda is hoisting at the mark. And there's Ildrim and Sphinx and Katrina and Vågspel coming next. As we start following the leaders on the run. Andromeda Spinnaker getting filled. They have had some really good races in the regatta, but consistency hasn't been quite what they wanted it to be, and ranking in total points not probably according to their taste. Beautiful boat and very fast in certain type of conditions, and an experienced team who has sailed together for years. But now we speeding up to catch up on the leaders, trying not to disturb these guys too badly. We cut in here into the middle. While Wind is adjusting their halyard, wasn't quite all the way up. Sagit on the left. It looks like they're changing head sail. Voisit kuvaa tuota vihreätä tuossa vasemmalla. There's a head sail change going on Sagitta. Wind has picked up quite a bit, so they're probably changing to a smaller, flatter head sail for the next upwind leg. Unless there was something else that they wanted to hoist the sail for. Not sure whether they furl it or drop it normally, but now it's on the deck anyway. And it could be a sail change going on. Here we have then the top 8 in front of us. There's Germania 3, there's Severn, there is Starling Burgess, all German entries. Then there is the 3 in front of them, Falcon on the right with the white sails. If with the frisk breeze, text on their mainsail, and Luna Fin 17 furthest left. And Pandora ahead of them, and Ikem far out in a lonely lead. Starling Burgess recovery has been remarkable from an early start and a return to the line. They climbed up into 6th place in total already, and they are not that far away from the top 5. Here we have If and Falcon, and Luna is on their left. If slightly behind Luna and Falcon, who look like almost neck to neck. Luna still needs to, possibly needs to drive, or let's see, Pandora is on port tack and laying the mark just about, depending on which mark they want to take. Now looks like Pandora is driving, yep. So Pandora onto starboard. And Ikem is going around the bottom gate already. They rounded left, sailing now on port tack towards the left side of the course, having a massive lead, having no one to race them in these conditions. They are the only real modern yacht in this regatta, Iroquois being a modern boat, but much older than Ikem in design and development, not having a chance to match Ikem's performance. Pandora has built a good gap on Falcon. They were pretty close on the second beat still, but now there's a over 100-meter gap for Pandora's advantage. And here is Luna. Having their nose pointing at the mark. They don't look like they would be driving anymore. They're taking the left mark, assumingly, as Pandora is taking the other one. And Falcon seems to be coming to the same mark with Luna, having good speed, coming in a better angle. Oh no, there goes the jibe on Falcon, so they're taking the other mark. Luna hoisting the head sail, so is If on our right. And If is coming to the same mark with Luna again. No driving before the gate, so Pandora and Falcon taking same mark, and then the next two, Luna and If, going for the other one. Pole is off already on both Luna and If. Ready for the spinnaker takedown. There comes Luna's kite down. And now also If going for an earlier drop, trying to avoid what happened the first time. Now the halyard is also coming down, and sail goes below the front hatch. Luna already on the beat, on port tack, dragging a lazy runner, I think. And there goes If, nice rounding this time, well sheeted in, and we go through here. To watch the rest of the fleet come around. There goes already Starling Burgess around the other mark. And then Germania 3 is coming to the mark closer to us. So Severn and Germania rounding the marks at the same time, going opposite ways. And then there's a bit of a gap until the rest of the fleet coming in a nice queue led by Windy and Sagitta. And then followed by Andromeda. 3 Finnish entries. Pandora leading the pack to the left, followed by Falcon, who's now tacking actually, and then there's Starling Burgess behind Falcon, and Severn behind Starling Burgess, as Sagitta is rounding the mark, and Windy at the background going the other way, followed by Andromeda. And then it's time for Sphinx, who's taking Spinnaker down rather early to be ready for the rounding. Ildering flying theirs, but now also going for the drop. And there's a steady fresh breeze, probably now closer to 15 knots at the best, as the boats are getting into the last beat of the 25 8-meter World Cup final top mark rounding, and then a run into the finish line to complete the regatta in perfect conditions with sunshine, fresh breeze, good conditions, fair sailing, no complaints. upwind leg getting complete. Pandora already rounded the top mark, heading for the offset, and Spinnaker set came long gone. Spinnaker up almost halfway the run already, and behind us Luna is closing to the top mark. They have caught up, nicely overtaken Falcon, which is coming on port tack right behind Luna though. And then Starling Burgess has taken If. They're coming next to each other on the starboard ley line. Here is Luna around the mark. And Falcon is tacking to the mark and at the mark right now, following Luna. As Burgess is overtaken If is climbing up further. They started with an over early action, returned to the line, but now already 5th place, very close to Falcon. And here come If team. They have lost a couple of places, but very nicely in the competition for the top positions. Couple of boat lengths behind Starling Burgess. Last upwind mark rounding for them. As for everybody else, Germania 3 coming behind If, tacking around the top mark. And then it's another German team, Severn, closing the mark 4. On the starboard ley line. And the queue is stretching longer and longer this time. The leaders have pulled out a massive lead on the others. Many of the boats only 2/3 up the last beat. Now it's time for Severn to tack to the mark. Going for quite an early tack, I would say, because of Sagitta, who's coming at them on starboard now, easing their sheets, bearing away. There goes Sagitta and Severn. And then it's Andromeda next, coming to the mark as we start following the boats on the run. There's Ilderim in the background, tacking still towards the mark. We follow Sagitta and Severn around the offset mark. Here we have Germania 3 chasing If and Starling Burgess on the last run. And in the background there's Luna and Falcon. Falcon just driving. And Pandora ahead of those two. And somewhere out in the distance there's Ikem behind Luna's and Starling Burgess's sails, already getting to the finish line. So Ikem taking the win in this final race of the World Cup for the 8-meter class. Pandora going for a strong second in this race. And then Luna has taken the third spot with Falcon and Starling Burgess still fighting for the fourth. If flying sixth and Germania 3-7. Ikem has already crossed the finish line. And the regatta is complete. They carry on with Spinnaker up, probably having a refreshing drink. As we are going to park next to the finish line, watching the boats to finish this race and finish the whole regatta on this beautiful day on Airisto Turku. Onko mikki auki? There's Austrian team Pandora coming to the last mark, and then only less than 100 meters to the finish line. They have sailed a very solid regatta and finishing it with style in a second place behind Ikem, as Luna, another dark blue hull beauty, is following them in third place. Boom, that's Pandora across the finish line. And there is Luna. Käännän itse sattuu. Luna with Harry Rochier at helm, finishing their last race in the regatta in third place, and then a close battle between Falcon and Starling Burgess, but Falcon keeping their fourth place. Starling Burgess came up very nicely from an early start, finishing fifth. Everybody's getting a gunshot for completing the event, and now the ladies on IF coming in sixth and waiting for their shot. There it goes, and that's the regatta done for the young female team. They are followed by Germania 3, with Martin Menzner at the helm. And there goes the shot for Germania 3. That's 7 boats done and 14 to go. Although I think the Swedish entry Vari wasn't out today. And Sagitta and Severn in a camera finish. Which one's gonna take the 8th place? Sagitta inside and Severn going for the boat. That was a close one. Probably Sagitta ahead of Severn. Sagitta skippered by Timo Saalasti and Sven Schultz at Severn's helm. And then it's Max Nordlund driving Andromeda to the finish line. Andromeda finishing in a peaceful gap before the next boats. Käännä perän tuuleen toiselta puolelta. And there comes Windy with Matti Ervamaa at the helm. Ilderim jibing at the last mark. Bea Stellander at the helm. Followed by Ann-Sophie, Hans-Georg Klein as the skipper, and then it's Katriina with Sami Lampinen and Irkoa with Hasse Karlsson neck to neck. And a bunch of three boats following: Vågspel, Sphinx and Ayana, three varnished beauties. Sphinx looking the quickest, approaching the line. Sphinx having problems getting the spinnaker filled because of Ayana's disturbance. That's Vågspel done, Sphinx and Ayana, and a protest flag flying on Sphinx, looks like. And not many more to go. There is Fulmar. The Scottish entry next. David Smith at the helm. And then there's Ilderim 2, the Swedish boat with the Finnish helmsman Aaro Immonen. They are completing the day. There is Fulmar finished and done, and then Ilderim 2, and that's the whole pack done. And the 8-meter World Cup 2025 complete with this shotgun. Thank you to you all for following, and we start heading ashore. The regatta is done, and only the prize giving ceremony at Forum Marinum, the Maritime Museum, later today, followed by a dinner gala at the Turku castle. And we are closing our commentating from the rib, and thanks for the whole camera team and good cooperation. Thank you on my own behalf, and enjoy the weekend.
K20.